Good morning, options traders. So I want to do something just a little bit, excuse me, a little bit different here this morning for a start to finish trade. So all the start to finish trades are paper trades. They're designed to show conceptually how the OptionStrat platform works, as well as just some trade concepts and ideas and how to go about evaluating those. So I'm going to use a little bit of a different tool this morning that you may not have been fully exposed to yet, and that's the optimize tool. So first of all, let me show you my premise. So my premise here is I'm looking at an earnings trade in Netflix. Netflix has earnings after the close tonight. Now, Netflix tends to have some big moves in earnings normally, and those moves can be up or they can be down. Now, my premise here, if I come in and I take a look at a weekly chart and we look at earnings historically, they tend to, other than this one was really bad, more often than not, they tend to pop up fairly significantly after earnings. This one was pretty much flat. That one was kind of flat, big pop up there. And of course, a few big pop-ups back here. So our market is in a bullish mode right now. Netflix has been in a bullish mode. So my premise is that Netflix, which is currently trading at 485, is likely to go higher after earnings. So that means I'm bullish on Netflix. So what might I do about this? Well, if I'm not sure what types of trades to consider, I can come to the Optimize tab. I plug in Netflix and it shows that it's currently trading at 485. And then I can put in what I think the target price of Netflix might be. In other words, what might I think it's going to do? Well, I'm not going to put a massive up move on it, but maybe I'll put 490 on it. Maybe a 10% move. Maybe a 1% move. So maybe it's 490 and I am bullish in nature, okay? So when I put those different factors in, I can also plug in a budget amount if I want, saying that, I don't want to risk more than $300 in the trade or something along those lines. And if I do that, it will go and create some different trade concepts and ideas for me that fall within that specific risk parameter. I'm not going to worry too much about that right now, but I do want to keep that somewhat under control, particularly around an earnings trade. So maybe I'll allow it $500 somewhere in there. So we can see when we do that, the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm selecting the options that expire the soonest. That is this Friday. The reason for that will become obvious in a minute, but basically it has to do with volatility, and volatility being the highest it's going to be right now. And then we can look at the two trades that it gives back to us that fall into that specific criteria. And what's kind of cool about this is we can come in here and we can instantly see our percent chance of that trade being profitable. We can see the amount of risk that we've got in both of those trades. We can look at our return on risk and profit potential. So everything, the highlights of that trade are kind of there for us to take a look at. Now, I like, in looking at these two, the call spread seems to have maybe a little better profile. It's got a much higher return on risk associated with it, if we look right here. And then it also, it does have a lower percent chance, but I can deal with that. I can modify that a little bit. And I would also say that I can slide this slider and say, if I want, I can slide out to maximum chance. In other words, if I want to make sure this thing makes a profit, and of course there's no making sure it makes a profit, but if I want a higher percent chance of profit, we can see that I can slide the slider to the right, and what it's doing is it's simply moving my spread down in price. And of course, that means that there's a higher percent chance that Netflix will be at or above that price at options expiration. Or I could say, you know what? I want the maximum amount of potential return But obviously this is a much lower percent chance of getting that return. So I can play with that slider and kind of slide that back and forth and have it show me what it thinks to be the best possibilities. Now, as I mentioned, like the bull call spread. So I'm going to open this in Visualizer, and it pops that trade open for me. And as you already know, I can come in and I can kind of move my range around, all that sort of stuff. The thing I want you to note right now, look at the implied volatility here. Implied volatility is at 108, very high. If we come out a few weeks, that implied volatility is going to be a lot less. So why is that important? Well, as traders, options traders specifically, we're not only trading the price movement of the underlying, we are trading the movement of volatility as well. And volatility peaks just prior to an earnings announcement, and it tends to drop out right after an earnings announcement. So if that happens, first thing that has to happen is our price has to get up here above our break-even point, which is, right here around 504, and volatility drops out of this very quickly. If that happens, this trade will be profitable quite rapidly. Now, if I'm not quite comfortable that Netflix is going to move this amount, again, it's currently trading at 485. If I'm a little unsure as to whether it'll pop 15 points or not, I may want to move this downstream a little bit. So that is what I'm going to take a look at here. I'm going to look at something more along these lines. Let's go 475 to 485. So in this particular scenario, and the other thing I can do now is I can go back and forth between these two possible trades. But I like the looks of this one a little bit better, because if Netflix does stay about where it is, this is still going to decay in my favor. Now, I can see that decay by coming and looking at the Greeks. If I look at the Greeks here, I can see that theta is $13.70. So that's working in my favor as this thing decays over the next few days. It is a positive delta trade, of course. I need the market to, or Netflix to, either stay the same or go up. But if all that happens and two things transpire tomorrow morning, volatility drops out of this trade, and of course we're one day further advanced, this trade can generate profits fairly quickly. If I am wrong and Netflix tanks, it's going to lose very quickly as well. So we have to keep that in mind. When that decay comes out, whether you're on the right side of the trade or the wrong side of the trade. So this is a trade that I am going to look at, a paper trade, again, demonstration purposes. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to save this trade, and I'm going to call this Netflix bullish earnings trade. And I will group that into the start to finish group. I'm going to click Save Trade, and I will copy this link and share this link in the comments down below so that anyone that's interested can hit that link as well. Whether you're an OptionStrat subscriber or not, you can hit that link and it will open this up in OptionStrat for you to view. Now, if you're not a paid subscriber, you're going to be opening the free version, the trial version, and that's going to give you a lot of good information as well, but it's not going to show you the Greeks, and it's not going to show you a few other features that are there for paid members, and it's not going to be updating in real time. If you're a paid member, everything updates in real time. The free members, the date is a little bit delayed by about 15 minutes. So that's it for now. We'll see how this trade pans out after Netflix announces earnings after the close tonight. But of course, after the close tonight isn't really the important thing. It's where does it open tomorrow morning? So that's what we'll be looking at. Take care, everyone.